Tumultuous scene out of Africa kicks off the president's wide-ranging tour. A huge crowd of well-wishers in Ghana threatens to turn into a dangerous crush as Mr. Clinton calls for calm. Oil producers get together to pump up their prices. It could mean the end of $1-a-gallon gasoline. Catastrophe strikes a small town as a mountain cabin goes up in flames, taking 11 young lives. And Eye on America. What is sexual harassment and what isn't? This professor says he was fired for teaching Shakespeare.
Approach. You have it.
This is the CBS Evening News. With Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. President Clinton arrived in Uganda tonight on the most extensive and already tumultuous tour of Africa ever by a U.S. president. On this long-planned trip out of Washington to promote freedom and free trade, Mr. Clinton is now on his second stop in Africa. A huge and warm turnout for him in Ghana overheated very nearly to the danger point. CBS's Scott Pelley is traveling with the president.
The president reached out to Africa, and thousands of hands lunged back. When Mr. Clinton met the crowd of 500,000 people, it was pandemonium. 2 women fell under the crush. The president shouted frantically to push the crowd back. The women were not seriously hurt, but Mr. Clinton was shaken. In his speech, he had offered hope of peace and prosperity. It seemed many believed he would take them there if they could just hold on. The frenzy in Ghana is the beginning of the first tour of Africa by an American president. It is happening now because of the continent's acceleration toward democracy and free markets.
We need partners to deepen the meaning of democracy in America, in Africa, and throughout the world. We need partners to build prosperity. We need partners to live in peace.
You can see the progress that prompted Mr. Clinton's trip in the smallest Ghanaian village. The people of Abonia just voted in free elections. Now they're figuring out how to sell their crops. We asked the chief what the president could do.
He's the first president coming, the first American president coming to Ghana. But we need of so many things in the country so that we should bring more ideas to the country, assist us.
Bring more ideas.
More ideas to assist us so that we can share ideas and then find ways and means to solve that problem.
When Mr. Clinton described a new face of Africa today, he was talking about progress in places like this. For example, it was about 18 years ago that the children here first started getting vaccinated. Then about 5 years ago, a U.S. religious organization put in the first running water. Now the village is trying to save about $5,000 so it can buy the poles to bring electricity here. The lesson of Abonia, repeated across the country, is why thousands led their tribal chiefs to the Capitol for the speech today. Not even the heat could drive them away from the American message. In the end, it was the largest crowd the president had ever faced. And even he was unprepared for how a deprived continent would react to the promise of progress. Scott Pelley, CBS News, traveling with the president in Accra, Ghana.
After the tumult in Ghana, President Clinton moved on tonight and arrived in Uganda. All told, President Clinton's African tour takes him to 6 countries over 12 days. After Ghana and Uganda, he goes next to Rwanda, where ethnic violence erupted again today. 7 Roman Catholic nuns were kidnapped and at least 20 civilians killed. Well, the days of $1-a-gallon gasoline may be numbered here in the USA. Today, Iran, Kuwait, and other oil exporting nations joined the movement to shore up the price of crude oil by promising to cut back on production. CBS's Bob McNamara is watching the oil gauge in Texas.
It was the biggest thing to hit the oil market since the Gulf War. The threat that petroleum could once again become pricey. Today alone, that sent crude oil up almost $2 a barrel. And for Americans who have become accustomed to low prices at the pump, the new OPEC deal could pinch.
I'm loving this, man. 88 cents.
But these could soon be seen as the good old days. It may be a few weeks, but analysts say we will be seeing a change in gas prices. By mid-April, the cost per gallon here could be up by as much as 15 cents. And it's not just drivers who will feel the pain. Among the first to take a hit, the travel industry. Today, airline stocks were all down over fears that their bottom line would be going up. Manufacturers, some of the biggest oil consumers in the country, are also nervous about what's next. Their stocks were down at the end of the day, too. But for roughnecks like Rick Brewer, this could mark the end of a long economic drought.
As long as our rigs stay, working, great. I mean, if the oil prices are up, we stay busy.
Tonight, the big question is whether the new OPEC alliance will hold together.
What has happened historically is they hold for a while and then people start cheating and eating around the edges, and smaller players decide, well, they won't observe them at all. So there is going to be a testing time here.
For many Americans, a small jump at the pump is not seen as a problem.
So it's just going back to what I would say is normal.
They feel lucky gas has been this low this long. Bob McNamara, CBS News, Dallas.
A country cabin, a mysterious fire, and now a town searching for answers and praying for healing. 11 young people set out for a weekend of fun in central Pennsylvania. They never made it home. CBS News correspondent Diana Olick reports from a small community trying to cope with an unthinkable tragedy.
There is almost nothing left of the remote cabin where the youngsters died in their beds of asphyxiation, and investigators have nothing in the way of answers. Neither do students.
I couldn't believe it. I was totally stunned that many people died so instantly.
Today at Line Mountain High School, a school of only 500 kids, they are learning just one subject, loss. Of the 11 dead, 3 were seniors here, most of the rest recent graduates.
It's going to take the entire village here to soothe the souls of our school community here today, because this is a community loss.
But it was a private cabin owned by the Wary family.
Been in our family. My mother bought it 48 or 49 years ago. She bought the ground.
The 7 Wary brothers shared it, and their kids used it as a regular retreat. This weekend, all 3 of one brother's children set off with friends. Now, they're all gone.
Here's Amanda, here's Tyrone Jr., and here's Tony.
John Wary is their uncle, the last to see his nieces and nephew.
It's just one of those things, I guess, we'll question the rest of our lives why, but I guess we have to just take it as it is.
This, though, for your brother, this is his whole family.
It's just unbelievable.
Police are looking for any cause, even foul play.
Not these kids. I know that. I just know that.
So this was just a terrible accident?
This was a terrible accident.
And that, he says, makes it harder to understand, impossible to accept. Diana Olick, CBS News, Mandetta, Pennsylvania.
Still to come on the CBS Evening News, Boris Yeltsin fires his cabinet. The CBS Worldwide Market Watch with the story of dramatically lower union membership. Eye on America begins a special look at the very confusing rules about sexual harassment in the workplace and the dramatic effect El Nino is having on a way of life in the Pacific.
Misty takes good care of her puppies, doesn't she, Mommy?
Yes, she does. And we take good care of Misty. Like when we protect her with Frontline.
Frontline?
See, one spot right here gets rid of fleas and ticks that can make us sick.
Does it hurt?
No, Frontline's really gentle. You know how I know?
'Cause you're a vegetarian.
Veterinarian.
Frontline, the flea and tick protection veterinarians trust most.
Want to really get your Easter hoppin'? Try Pillsbury Bunny Cookies. The only cookies with the fun bunny shape in the middle. Simply slice, bake, and eat. They're the cookies
every bunny loves.
Has frequent heartburn been a persistent problem for you? Have you treated it but still suffer on 2 or more days a week? Do you keep getting heartburn even though you've changed your diet? Your heartburn may be due to a potentially serious condition called acid reflux disease. Ask your doctor if Prilosec is right for you. Just 1 Prilosec capsule daily can provide 24-hour acid control. Prilosec is not for everybody. Only your doctor can decide if it's right for you. The most common side effects are headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. To learn more, call this number, ask your doctor or pharmacist, or see our Life magazine ad. Want 24-hour acid control with just one daily capsule? Ask your doctor about Prilosec.
Russian President Boris Yeltsin shook up the Kremlin and the world today with one of his sudden and sweeping government shakeups. But Yeltsin promised that Russia's free market economic reforms will stay on course. CBS's Moscow correspondent Richard Threlkeld reports.
On this first Monday in spring, Boris Yeltsin went house cleaning in the Kremlin with a vengeance. Out went Yeltsin's entire cabinet, reading like a who's who of Russian leadership. His prime minister, Viktor Chernomyrdin, his economic czar, Anatoly Chubais, his hardline interior minister, Anatoly Kulikov, his foreign minister and Moscow's best friend in the Arab world, Yevgeny Primakov. In a nationwide TV appearance, Yeltsin told Russians he sacked his government because it has run out of energy and new ideas, and he wants a new team to engineer real economic reform. Yeltsin urged Russians to be patient and understanding, which is a lot to ask, considering that millions of them are still waiting to collect unpaid salaries. If history's any guide, Yeltsin will probably bring back some of those he fired today in a new cabinet, but not Chernomyrdin. Chernomyrdin, who has been Yeltsin's loyal second for 5 years and has cultivated close ties with U.S. Vice President Al Gore, said he will now prepare to run for president when Yeltsin's term expires in the year 2000. Yeltsin has 2 weeks to name a new prime minister. For now, the acting prime minister is the 35-year-old former energy minister, Sergei Kiriyenko, one of Yeltsin's young economic reformers. The president may also have had some personal reasons for making his move now. His well-publicized recent illnesses have prompted speculation that perhaps he's no longer up to running Russia. After today, there's no question who's still in charge back there in the Kremlin. Boris Yeltsin. Richard Threlkeld, CBS News, Moscow.
North Korea today blamed the United States for a deadlock in the four-nation Korean peace talks in Geneva. Negotiations broke down over the weekend over North Korea's demand for a U.S. troop withdrawal from South Korea. In Kosovo, it was the Serbs' turn to protest today in the province ruled by Serbia, though some 90% of its people are ethnic Albanians. Serb students were angered by government concessions to the Albanian majority.
Does tossing one of these into your tank kill germs? Who knows? Until now. Introducing Lysol Continuous Action Automatic Toilet Cleaner. It not only cleans and deodorizes, it kills germs. No other automatic toilet cleaner kills more. Till you have our word on it, you can't call it clean.
Is a big odor invading your little space? Stop it with Wizard Stick-Ups. And stick up for fresh air.
Once you see satellite TV, you gotta have it. The picture, the sound, all the channels. Thing is, which one do you get? I got Prime Star. It comes with a risk-free guarantee. So if I've got a problem, I'm covered. Plus, Prime Star was ranked #1 in customer satisfaction by J.D. Power and Associates. Prime Star. Every decision should be this easy.
Prime Star Satellite TV. It's that good. Now, during our installation celebration, get Prime Star installed for just $99. Call 1-800-PRIME-STAR or visit your local Radio Shack.
Sue teaches in a very special way, with her hands. This is no time for arthritis pain, so it's Advil. It works fast, right at the site of pain. For all kinds of pain, Advil simply lets people do what they love to do.
Life's an adventure because you're over 50 and still exploring. So take the Centrum made just for you, Centrum Silver, with age-essential nutrients specially adjusted to keep pace with your changing nutritional needs. Centrum Silver, it's a great time to be silver.
There's a new way to get your news. Channel 6000 is News Center 6 on the internet. Easy to use and updated 24 hours a day. Log on to coin.com.
While President Clinton is away in Africa, there's a whole new dimension developing tonight in the White House under fire story in Washington. The concerns about the president and his top aides reportedly invoking executive privilege in the Ken Starr investigation, those concerns are fueling impeachment talk and Watergate comparisons among Republicans on Capitol Hill. While on another front, the investigation into sleazy and possibly illegal political fundraising took a very interesting turn during the day. CBS's chief Washington correspondent Bob Schieffer has the latest about that.
Like other commerce secretaries, the late Ron Brown organized overseas trade missions like this one with business leaders to promote American business overseas. But in a sworn affidavit filed in federal court, Nolanda Hill, Brown's former business partner, said Brown told her before his death that trade missions were being used as a fundraising tool for the upcoming Clinton-Gore campaign and the Democratic Party. She said, Ron told me that domestic companies were being solicited to donate large sums of money in exchange for their selection to participate. And when a conservative watchdog group, Judicial Watch, became suspicious and filed suit to get government documents about the trips, she said Brown told her former White House Chief of Staff Leon Panetta and presidential aide John Podesta urged him to hold back the documents until after the 1996 elections and to devise a way not to comply with the court's orders. Hill is under indictment for income tax evasion and other business schemes tied to Brown, but White House officials call these allegations false in every respect. While they seem stunned that she made the charges, they would not speculate on why she did. Dan.
Bob Schieffer in Washington, thanks. In tonight's CBS News Worldwide Market Watch, the U.S. Justice Department has sued to stop the proposed merger of military contractors Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman. The lawsuit says the deal would cut competition and increase defense costs to American taxpayers. America's largest book publisher, Random House, agreed today to be purchased by German media giant Bertelsmann. Despite the robust U.S. economy, labor unions are struggling. Even though the AFL-CIO reports gains in recruitment, the government says union membership dropped last year by 159,000 workers.
Something's gotten into Sunsweet prunes. Something rather orange. Delicious orange essence from Sunsweet. It's prunes with a twist.
I'm gonna fly! Easy Spirit's new anti-gravity walking shoe absorbs 36% more shock than the leading walking shoe. The new anti-gravity walking shoe, only from Easy Spirit.
It's time to discover cars and trucks you may not have thought about before. The 1998 Oldsmobiles at Discover Days. Test drive the intrigue. The sports sedan Car and Driver magazine chose over Camry and Taurus. Experience this blend of sophistication and sportiness yourself with a limited time offer of 1.9 financing. There's never been a better time to come in for a test drive. Discover Days with incredible 1.9 financing on all Oldsmobiles. At your local Oldsmobile dealer now.
Anne Klein Eyewear by Luxottica. What do you want people to see?
I want you to see fearlessness.
The unexpected.
I want you to see you don't need words to make a statement. Let them see you in Anne Klein Eyewear by Luxottica.
There are those among us with very simple tastes. They only want the best. And for them, there's Fancy Feast gourmet cat food. Exceptionally moist and delicious. Fancy Feast. Good taste is easy to recognize.
I've got all my receipts right here and my pay stubs, of course. I know how these things can go. I mean, I've heard how these things can go. I've never actually been audited before, if that's what you're thinking. And if this is about the home office deduction, I can show you a blueprint of my home.
Did you make money last year, Mr. Lawrence?
Yes.
Did you send us most of it?
Yes.
Thank you. Next.
See, life doesn't have to be so complicated. A simple reminder from Kellogg's Corn Flakes. Simple is good.
A lone gunman. A government conspiracy.
FBI
were involved.
Were there orders to kill Martin Luther King? 48 hours Tuesday.
The massive El Nino weather system out of the Pacific is still causing havoc and misery. As you've seen for months, a conveyor belt of storms has battered residents along the water-saturated West Coast. But it doesn't stop at the water's edge. It is also a wide-scale disaster in prime fishing areas from California up to Oregon, as CBS's Jerry Bowen reports.
The El Nino that triggered a frenzy in West Coast sports fishing last year has turned the same Pacific waters into a dead sea for commercial fishermen now. There's no reason for the squid boats to leave harbor at Half Moon Bay, says 25-year veteran Tim Sullivan.
The El Nino has really affected our squid fishery. So we've landed absolutely no squid this year compared to 1,000 ton we landed at this time last year.
The latest satellite image shows red hotspots off California and Oregon, water 9 degrees warmer than usual. Industrial officials want a disaster declaration so fishermen can get low-interest loans to see them through. Losses are already estimated at several $100 million. Even local merchants are feeling the pinch.
I give a lot of the fishermen credit, and they'll pay when salmon season starts.
At Joanne Franklin's Cafe, the normally plentiful squid was taken off the menu.
The squid, we were out for like 3 months. We couldn't get any. We're getting it now, but not the quality that we were getting before.
And El Nino's driven away the alternative catch, too, crabs.
So we tried to fall back on that this year, and because of the storms and stuff, we've ended up not being able to fish much, and also we've lost a tremendous amount of gear due to the storms. So it's kind of a double whammy on us here.
And a new wave of storms is just offshore tonight, forecast to hit Southern California by midweek. Jerry Bowen, CBS News, Los Angeles.
California's highest court ruled today the Boy Scouts do have a right to exclude gays, atheists, and agnostics. The court said the Boy Scouts are not a business organization and not covered by the state's civil rights laws. In Washington, the United States Supreme Court today upheld California's term limits on state legislators approved by state voters in 1990. It imposed a lifetime ban on incumbents who reached the limit. Also today, the High Court refused to reinstate an Ohio law that bans late-term abortions. The National Football League late today approved a new expansion team for Cleveland. Cleveland lost the Browns when they moved to Baltimore a few years back. The new franchise will also be known as the Browns.
Breyers presents a spectacular ice cream dessert called Viennetta. Viennetta has crispy, chocolatey layers, surrounded by rich, velvety ice cream. But there could be one small problem. One slice is never enough. Make sure you have enough Viennetta for the Easter holiday from Breyers.
Pain keeping you awake? Now the effervescent power of new Alka-Seltzer PM gives you complete relief. Alka-Seltzer Speed plus a gentle sleep aid. The 100% solution to nighttime pain. New Alka-Seltzer PM. Sleep well.
Misty takes good care of her puppies, doesn't she, Mommy?
Yes, she does. And we take good care of Misty. Like when we protect her with Frontline.
Frontline?
See, one spot right here gets rid of fleas and ticks that can make us sick.
Does it hurt?
No, Frontline's really gentle. You know how I know?
'Cause you're a vegetarian.
Veterinarian.
Frontline, the flea and tick protection veterinarians trust most.
Do you ever just have one of those days? Well, at Farmers Insurance, everything we do is about getting things back to normal. Isn't that what insurance is supposed to do? Farmers, get you back where you belong.
Next time, call a Roto-Rooter plumber. When we make an appointment, we keep it.
Tonight, the first of a two-part Eye on America investigation into a fast-emerging national and legal issue. What is and isn't sexual harassment in the workplace or any place? Wednesday, the U.S. Supreme Court will take up the first in a series of cases that could help draw the lines and limits. Tonight, CBS's Paula Zahn focuses on one controversial case in point.
Good blood, bad blood. Good blood, bad blood.
The case has rocked the theater department.
Good blood, bad blood.
At Arizona State University.
And over and breathe out.
Professor Jared Saccharin, who came here from Juilliard and Yale 4 years ago, is teaching the classic playwrights.
And then come up slowly.
But not for long. He's been terminated. So why are you being fired?
Because I teach Shakespeare.
You're being fired because you teach Shakespeare?
And Congreve, and Moliere, and Oscar Wilde.
You heard him right. He said fired for teaching Shakespeare. What does that have to do with sexual harassment? Some women in the theater department say by teaching so many male writers, Saccharin created a hostile environment.
What is so offensive about these classic rights?
Well, in statements that have been written, in documents that have been given to me as part of my evaluation, they are offensive to the feminists because they are selection works from a sexist European canon that is approached traditionally.
So why is that a problem? The federal civil rights law says creating an intimidating, hostile, or offensive work environment is a form of sexual harassment. And Arizona State University bases its policy on that law.
I'm a little familiar with the sexual harassment business.
Dean J. Robert Will says those letters of complaint accurately reflect the feeling among theater teachers.
It's really Jared Saccharin causing harassment for both the men and the women in the department.
How is that?
Because he has created for them, both men and women, a climate of real fear and real hostility. It's a case about job performance. He was hired to do a specific job, and he didn't do it very well.
Why did so many of these performance evaluations deal with the issue of the fact that he was teaching predominantly male writers?
None of the performance evaluations deal with that.
A department year-end evaluation we obtained includes the following quote. In virtually every area of his work, Mr. Saccharin has contributed to a climate of sexism.
Anybody who suggests that teaching of Shakespeare is a sexist, sexual harassment thing has to be Looney Tunes.
While Saccharin's lawyer, Herbert Eli, says this case sounds goofy, others who follow the issue say it's very serious. They say an employee can be fired for creating a hostile work environment and define that vaguely. Eli believes when Congress wrote the law, it never meant for employers to go this far.
In this case, what they did to accommodate the women's complaint is something that the courts would never allow.
What Congress may have meant is that sexual harassment is related to unwanted sexual advances. But no one has charged Saccharin with that. Nor has anyone questioned his teaching ability. Not even the university that's firing him. Saccharin does not know where he will go after he leaves in May. He is preparing to sue the university.
I think that how I've been treated has been offensive. I think to treat a professional in the way that I've been treated is hostile and offensive.
And here's the twist. That may allow Saccharin to use the very same sexual harassment law against the university.
Good, good.
He can claim his colleagues created a hostile work environment for him. In Tempe, Arizona, I'm Paula Zahn for Eye on America.
In a fax from Arizona State University late today, university officials again insisted that Professor Saccharin was fired for inadequate job performance. They said no one is fired for what they teach at the university, which offers many courses in Shakespeare, unquote, Arizona State. Tomorrow, we'll give you a look at how courts and employers are trying to deal with a flood of sexual harassment cases. That's part of our world. For the CBS Evening News, Dan Rather reporting. Good night.